everyone, it's me, Nikki, and today I'm here with a book review. Yay! I thought perhaps it was time I finally reviewed a book in, I guess, my second favorite genre. My first favorite genre is fantasy. My second favorite genre is historical mysteries. So I shall be reviewing The Queen's Man by Sharon K. Penman. And Sharon K. Penman has written other books, but not murder mysteries. She's written books about the Plantagenets, Henry II and Eleanor, Richard the Lionheart, and they're like factual. Well, the one I have read so far, When Christ and His Saints Slept, it's based on facts, but it's given a little bit of a fictional spin on the stuff that historians don't know about. But this one, as far as I'm aware, is pure fiction. And so this is about Justin De Quincey, who is going out of Winchester, and it says it's Epiphany. I don't know what that is, but that's wintertime. And he comes across a man who is dying, and he tells him to deliver a letter to the Queen Eleanor, because Henry is dead, Richard has been captured on his way back, and they think he's dead, and John is stirring up trouble. She's 70, and I think she lives to like 80 something. So Eleanor of Aquitaine is a bad bitch. And so Justin gives her this letter, and he's a bastard, as they say, and he's the son of a high cleric. And, but he's had an education, so he's smart, he reads, he writes, probably French and Latin, maybe English, but that's not really popular yet. And so she's like, I can trust you. You brought me to this. You didn't even open it. You're my spy. And he's like, okay, I'll solve the murder, but, what? So that's basically where it starts. Now I've got my handy dandy notebook. Blue's Clues reference there. And now I just have to find, there it is. So this is after the Third Crusade, because Richard is kidnapped and they think he's dead. And, spoiler alert, he's not, because the note says he's not, and that he's been kidnapped. Like, say the Holy Land is here, right? Over here. And, like, Italy's here because he's a Norman, and they had Sicily, I think. And then England's, like, this way. He's going from here to here, and then he goes overland, and, like, somewhere in Germany, because he pissed off a guy in the Crusades. He's like, haha, you're mine now. And he's also pissed off Philip of France. I think he's the first Philip of France. Don't quote me. And they're like cousins, because they're all royalty is cousins. And so they're like, we got you now, bitch. And Richard's like, fuck. And Eleanor's like, fuck. And then, you know, in Robin Hood, there's the whole thing where John is raising the taxes, where in reality John probably did fuck people over. I know he fucked people over. And they raised the taxes to pay for Richard's release. And Richard was like, yeah, sure, I don't give a shit about England. And Eleanor's like, fuck my life. And John just, he gets, I said roasted. He gets roasted by his mother a lot. She's like, yeah, I know, he's a fucking weirdo. They give the history of Eleanor, how she was married to Louis, Philip's dad, and they went on crusade together and had 2 daughters, and he was super pious, And she was like, I am a hot young thing. Why are you not fucking me? And he's like, but I'm so pious. Then they got divorced, and then she goes, I'm gonna go with Henry II, who's like 10 or more years my junior, and then she gives him like 500 sons. It's fucking ridiculous. I love her so much. And then Henry's like, I found somebody younger, I'll lock you in a tower. It's a whole thing. The Plantagenets are like a fucking mess. If you want soap opera trash, read the fucking Plantagenets, because that is soap opera trash. And it all happened. So my first note for the book is on page 33. Oh, sorry, I've hit a thing. So Justin's birth father's name, his last name is De Quincey, and I learned this while reading Roger the Chapman, which is later, because that's Richard III, but his father was a stonemason, and I think that was his last name for a while, and then everyone just started calling him Roger Chapman, because Chapman was also a job, and that became his last name, and he's like, fine, whatever. So they didn't really have last names. It was like your job. Like, if your last name is Weaver, you were from a family of Weavers. So Justin doesn't have a last name, and then Eleanor calls him Justin De Quincey, and he says, I have no right to that name, my lady. My father would be outraged if I claimed it. Yes, Eleanor agreed. Indeed he would. And when she smiled, it was not the smile of a venerable dowager queen, but the smile of the royal rebel she'd always been. And then Justin's like, yeah, I'm De Quincey now. So Eleanor's like, yeah, it would piss him off. That's why you do it. So she's amazing. And then on page 35, this poor boy, this poor Justin De Quincey, it says that, he saw the dead body, Gervase Fitzrandolph, and dead, and he basically says at some point, he'd never watched a man die before, and pray God, never again. And I'm like, oh, you sweet summer child. This is the first book in the series. You're on, like, chapter 3 at that point. You are going to see other people die, or you're going to find dead bodies. He also really likes to embarrass the upper classes, because they think Eleanor basically gives him like a card that says, or like a sign that says he's working for Eleanor, so he can do whatever he wants. And because he probably dresses as a lower class, people are like, oh, you're stupid. And then he goes, am I though? So the man who's murdered Gervase, they believe that he's murdered because of the note, but they're not sure. So Justin goes to look at his family, and it's a total family drama. He's got a wife, a brother, 2 children, a son who wants to become a monk and not take over the family business, a daughter who wants to marry the apprentice goldsmith and not some rich old guy, and he has a mistress. And it totally freaks Justin out because he's an orphan, so he doesn't understand any of this family drama, and he basically thinks that, like, why are you arguing? You should just be a happy family. And this mistress has a dog, and Justin is smitten with her. And then he also thinks he can't solve the murder because there's just, like, so much happening. He's like, I'm not cut out for this. So he does have moments of doubt, which is fun because usually in these historical murder mysteries, they don't ever really doubt themselves. Then he meets, they're in, I can't remember the city, but it's not that far. It's the road out of Winchester, so it's not that super far from London. I think that's where he goes. I'm trying to find the guy's name. I don't think I ever wrote it down. He's the local law. I don't know if he's like the first in command, but he's like the second in command of this area. What is his name? And they don't really get along. They sort of do at the end because they're both like wanting to solve this case. I'll go to the end. Luke. The man's name is Luke. And Justin is a De Quincey, so he's French-ish, Norman, and Luke is not. So there's also that. There's another murder. There is animal cruelty. A dog is tied up in a bag and thrown into the Thames, the icy Thames, and Justin is like, fuck. And he saves the dog, and then the dog follows him, and he calls it Shadow. The dog never dies. I will tell you that now. In this book, he does not die. There's also William Longsword, who was a real person. One of, I've turned something on my keyboard and I don't know what, so we're just going to go with it. Issue Richard the First. He is one of, Henry II's children. Bastard children. But he is loyal to Eleanor, and she's always been kind to him. And he helps Richard. And Magna Carta. So he does remain loyal to John, but John is also an idiot. Oh, and William Marshall's the other one. Okay, I got them confused. I thought they were the same person. William Marshall served Henry II, young Henry, Richard, John, and Henry III, whereas Longsword was just loyal to his brothers. Let's see, what else? There is a woman, Claudine, who Justin has an affair with. She's widowed and working as like the queen's handmaiden, and nobody gives a shit. They talk about the dog some more, and he goes to an inn type, tavern type place to stay. I think where the Gustav died, and it's sort of like in the seedier part of town, and it's run by a woman. It's owned by a man, but run by a woman, and her daughter are there, and basically the women in this are just amazing. it's a quick read. It's not very long. It's pretty fast paced. So that's good. Because it makes you want to keep reading. What else? Oh, his dog saves him at one point, which was like, oh my god, what a good boy. The Queen, Eleanor, uses her power to make sure Justin gets all the help she needs because he was trying to find somebody, I think in London, and he wasn't getting any help. And then Eleanor's like, you're gonna help him. And then he does. There's a third murder, but the person is preserved in ice, so that's weird. Justin is keeping secrets, like, because he knows what's in the letter. Eleanor opens the letter about Richard with Justin in there, and I think just with William Longsword, and so they're, at that point in time, like, the only 3 people who know about it. So Justin can't tell, like, Luke or anybody helping him, any of his friends, the woman who runs the tavern, any of them, about why he's really doing this. Because, like, they think, Eleanor and crew think he was killed over the letter, and Luke and the local law and basically his family think he was killed because he was a goldsmith and they tried to rob him. So they're not sure why Justin and Queen Eleanor care. And because it is after the Norman invasion, they speak French, but also English. The woman who runs the tavern is Nell, and she goes undercover, and it's a very good scene. It's not just one scene, it's basically like a long-term undercover. She's trying to get close to this woman, and she pretends to be, like, she has a rich old husband that beats her, and then the woman's like, oh yeah, I know somebody who can take care of that problem. And it's the murderer. He's killed 3 people. And she becomes bait for the killer. The bad guy is scary because he's not afraid of dying or anything. And, you know, the cast of characters is very good. They're all different, and like I said, the women are amazing. So, yeah, I love it. There's a good flight and fight scene. The bad guy runs away, and Justin and Luke and some other lower guard, like, all come and beat the shit out of him. There is a scene where the lower guard gets his throat cut, and Nell is like, oh god, he's gonna die, but it's not deep enough. Wasn't deep enough to hit the jugular. And there are 2 bad guys, the scary one, and then another one who's probably what you would call the idiot. He's not as smart as the other guy. He's there to be the brawn, and he is duped into talking. They make a deal with him. And the problem is, I'm not going to tell you that, because that's a spoiler. It was a good ending. Like, if this was the only book you read, that was a good ending, but it also does set up for the rest of the series. And at the end, Eleanor hires Justin to be her man. Maybe not her spy, but, like, he'll solve mysteries that need to be solved. And he's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Because at first he was like, I don't know, I'm not cut out for this. Do I like it? Do I not like it? And then, like, he really liked it, and he liked being relied upon by Eleanor, and, you know, working with Luke and figuring it all out. And he was like, oh, she's never gonna, like, this is it. I've solved it. I have to go somewhere and do something now. And she's like, I got you, fam. And hires him, and he's like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I really enjoyed it. Oh, there are also lepers in it. They're not ever really described, but they are there, and the fear associated with them is also described. So I thought that was very interesting. I don't see a lot of leprosy. For having like people who are like talking about it a lot, I don't see it a lot in these books. Or if they do, it's like the really end stages, and these lepers are able to walk around and ask for alms and stuff. So yeah, I thought this was a very good book. I'm interested to see where it goes, because at the end, Richard has not come home. So how many books are there in this? There are 4. So we'll have to see where it goes. But yeah, I would recommend this book if you like historical murder mysteries, and you don't really need to know a lot about the Plantagenets. I do, because I'm a nerd. But it does, like I said, it does explain Eleanor's backstory, which is very important, because that's why everybody thought of her. Like, because she started, everybody was like, oh my god, she's a slut, she's sleeping with her uncle. And then by the time she's basically ruling England for Richard, she's like the elderly stateswoman, and everybody's like, oh my god, Eleanor, you're so great. So yes, I recommend this one a lot. I thought it was very well written, and it's a lot different than her other books, which are chunky. So it was probably nice for her, a nice change of pace for her as well. And she knows a lot about it, so it's probably historically accurate. But yeah, I definitely will recommend The Queen's Man by Sharon K. Penman. And that's my review. How did I do reviewing the book? I tried not to spoil too much. I am trying to get better about reviewing books, because you can't just say, oh, I liked it, and then not say why. So yeah, that was my video for today. Thank you very much for watching. I don't know why I did that. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're having a lovely day. Goodbye.